Kate Sullivan was born in the dim back room of a peeling yellow house on the south side of Milwaukee. Her parents never meant to have a child. Her mother, Denise, was barely 20 when Kate came wailing into the world, and her father, Roger, was already too deep in the bottle to hear her cries. The room she grew up in had one small window that looked out onto a crumbling alleyway and was more drafty than warm, even in summer. Kate's earliest memories were of hiding beneath the kitchen table when voices rose and bottles smashed. Denise had a temper, a fire that matched her red hair, and Roger had a way of disappearing for days, only to return with empty pockets and more liquor. By the time Kate was 6, she had learned to heat soup from a can and clean up the broken glass before anyone could step on it. Her innocence was replaced with survival instinct long before first grade. Books became her escape. She discovered them in the school's corner library and devoured everything from fairy tales to dusty encyclopedias. Her first grade teacher, Ms. Brewster, noticed how Kate clung to reading time like it was oxygen. She sent home extra books and told her, "You've got a brain too big to stay in that little house forever." Kate never forgot those words, even when everything else seemed to crumble. Middle school was when the cracks started to spread. Denise left one afternoon after a screaming match with Roger and never came back. Kate was 12. She had no explanation, no forwarding address, just an empty spot at the kitchen table and a father who sank deeper into silence. She was old enough by then to know the utility bills didn't pay themselves. So she took up jobs, paper routes, babysitting, cleaning for the older ladies down the street. She never told anyone that she often skipped dinner or slept in her coat during winter. No one asked, and she long learned not to volunteer truths that made people uncomfortable. School became harder. Not the learning. Kate still loved that, but the staying awake. She'd nod off in class from exhaustion or sneak into the bathroom to cry between periods. Some teachers noticed, but they chalked it up to teenage mood swings. Others didn't care at all. Peer pressure started as whispers. Why she wore the same jeans every day. Why she never joined after-school events. By high school, it turned into ridicule. And eventually, it turned into invitations. Want to forget everything for a night? The first time she smoked weed behind the gym, it felt like freedom. By the time she hit 17, there were pills. And later, whatever she could get her hands on. She graduated, barely. There was no celebration, no party, not even a hug from Roger, who'd long stopped caring about anything beyond his next drink. Kate moved out at 18, hopping couches, staying with friends who weren't much better off than she was. She worked in diners, sometimes 2 at a time, but the exhaustion never left her. Every few months she'd promised herself to quit the drugs, but they were always there when the darkness came crawling back. By 22, she had been arrested twice. Once for shoplifting food, another time for possession. She was thin, tired, and felt like a failure. Her friends had either OD'd, disappeared, or turned their backs when she couldn't be their party buddy anymore. She considered ending it once. Only once. But even that felt like more effort than she could muster. Then, one rainy Tuesday afternoon, everything changed. Kate sat on a wooden bench near the Holton Street Bridge, her thin jacket soaked through and a cigarette burning down to her fingers. The city blurred through the drizzle, and she stared at the river below, thinking about nothing and everything. Mind if I sit? She turned to see an older man, late 50s, maybe early 60s. Dressed clean, but not flashy. Blue jeans, brown boots, a tan overcoat with a tear at the sleeve. He had kind eyes. "Free country," she muttered. He sat beside her, careful to keep a respectful distance. They didn't speak for a while. He simply sat, watching the water with her. Eventually, he reached into a small paper bag and pulled out 2 coffee cups. Brought an extra in case someone needed one. Kate looked at it suspiciously, but took it. It was hot, black, strong. It warmed her hands more than her throat. "You come here often?" he asked. "Not really. Just passing time. I come every Tuesday after my group meeting." She raised an eyebrow. "Group?" "AA." There was a pause. Kate scoffed slightly. "Not my thing. Didn't say it had to be." He sipped. "Name's Tom." She hesitated. "Kate." They talked for a while, small things. He didn't pry. She didn't offer. But when he got up to leave, he said, "I'll be here next week. Same time." She didn't intend to go back. But a week later, she found herself at the bridge. Tom was already there, coffee waiting. Over the next few months, it became a ritual. She came to look forward to those Tuesdays. Tom never pushed, never lectured, just listened. Eventually, she told him about Denise and Roger, about sleeping in her coat and stealing bread from grocery stores. He nodded through it all, quietly sipping coffee. One day, he told her his story. "I used to be a pastor," he began. Kate almost laughed. "No way." "True. Small town. Good people. But I had a secret. I drank, not at first, but when my wife died in a car accident, I fell apart. I hid it for a while. Then I couldn't. Lost the church. My kids stopped talking to me. I ended up on that same bench you were sitting on 10 years ago." He paused, eyes distant. A man sat beside me. Didn't say much. Just handed me coffee. Came back the next week. And the next. I got sober. Got into counseling. Rebuilt what I could. Kate felt the lump rise in her throat. "So now you do the same?" "I try." Tom gave her a pamphlet one day. Just slid across the bench without a word. Recovery doesn't mean you failed. It means you're strong enough to fight. Kate carried it around for weeks before she even opened it. Then one day, she walked into the community center, just to watch. The first meeting was brutal. She felt exposed, judged. But then someone shared a story about sleeping in their car. Another about stealing from their own mother. She didn't feel so alone after that. Tom came with her for the first 3 months. Never spoke, just sat beside her. She started seeing a counselor. Got a part-time job at a bookstore. The owner, an elderly woman named Grace, paid in cash and let her take home damaged books. For the first time in years, Kate found herself smiling for no reason. Recovery wasn't linear. Some days she shook from withdrawal. Some days the urge hit like a train. But she kept going. She kept coming back. Tom introduced her to his son, Daniel, who ran a nonprofit that helped at-risk youth. He offered Kate a part-time mentorship role. She hesitated, but eventually accepted. She told her story to girls who looked just like her, hollow-eyed, hurting, but full of quiet hope. It felt surreal, like she was reading about someone else's life. Kate started writing. Just journals at first, then essays, then a blog. Her post about the stranger with the coffee went viral. Emails flooded in, people sharing their stories, thanking her. She and Tom kept meeting. Not always on the bench now, but over lunch, in the bookstore, at community events. He became family, the kind she never had. 5 years sober. Kate stood at a podium in front of a room of 100 people at a youth recovery gala. Her voice shook as she spoke, but her hands were steady. "I used to think rock bottom was where you give up, but it's not. It's the place you finally find solid ground to push off from." In the front row, Tom sat with Grace and Daniel, beaming. "I met a stranger once who gave me coffee in silence. And in that silence, I found space to heal." Applause rose around her, but Kate didn't hear it. Her eyes had drifted to back, where a girl in a hoodie sat with her arms crossed, skeptical, angry, lost. Kate smiled gently. She knew that look, and she'd be waiting next Tuesday with a second cup of coffee.